Boom. We are live. Wendy
Yay, we
Thompson,
made it.
how are you?
I'm fantastic. Lovely to
Thanks
be
so much
here.
for joining us. I'm going to give a little bit of an intro, but before I do, if you're tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, drop in the comments. You know the drill. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We want to make this as interactive as possible. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of questions as we go through. Wendy's a guru in the social media marketing industry. Just a couple of accreditations that I will mention. Social Media Agency of the Year 2018, Australasia, and Wendy's in New Zealand, which means she beat all the Aussies. I'm sure she's very proud of that. Social Media Marketer of the Year 2019, Deloitte Fast 500, member of the Deloitte Fast 500 as well. She's the chair of the Entrepreneurs Organisation New Zealand, and celebrated 10 years in business last year, I believe.
Yes, I did. It's very exciting. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And probably
So
I'm gonna add one more on because I'm really, really proud of it. Is that okay with you?
There's countless things to mention, so I'll just
Yes,
take a few, but please do.
I was only because it's just really, 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 really fresh, and that's just the EY Entrepreneur of the Year. I'm a finalist, and that's brand new off the.
I saw that on Instagram. Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah.
And you're a finalist of the Social Media Marketing Awards this year. I've seen Socialites pop up all over the place.
Oh, it's going to be fun. We're going to have to sit here with wines and and watch that this year. It'll be great. Can't wait.
The virtual gala, yeah, we're doing the same over here in Perth. Did you always know that you were going to be an entrepreneur? How did your story begin?
No, unlike most entrepreneurs, I think actually no, I'd say I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I've always been a marketer though. Like I've been a marketer since I was a very young girl, very creative, my mum says. I used to grab mail out of the mailbox and like redo the ads because that was important when you're 5 or 6. Very strange thing for a child to do. But I was always really obsessed with the idea of communication and, using different media to do that. So I worked in big ad. I went to university and I worked in big ad agencies, which was really, really fun for the first sort of 10 years of my career. And then my social media sort of hit, I suppose, 2008, 2009, 2010. It was sort of starting to hit the radar. And at the time, my now ex-husband had a physio Pilates studio. So I started using social media to tell people about our business. And that's where I sort of discovered, I suppose, in real time, like how good it was and how amazing it was to connect, build that relationship between like a company and a community. And from there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge. And as a marketer who's passionate about marketing, I was like, I need to be amongst this. So there were no agencies to join because there was none. So I kind of accidental entrepreneur ended up creating one because it's what I needed to do.
So your original passion was really for marketing, and then you saw
sort of turned into
this
opportunity. And now I think I'm like, my marketing is all from my gut, and that's one of our core values, like trust your gut. And I've got a really amazing feel for sort of what's going to be big and what's not, and if things work or not, which like any artist and things. But I've actually learned the skills of being an entrepreneur in business, and I think that's what I'm always working on and always trying to get better at, and definitely I'm not fantastic at, but I've got better over the last 10 years. It's a big school to learn from. And so much fun.
You seem to be doing something right with the nominations and awards they're coming your way.
Well, you're in good stead being a marketer because you're all about, you're curious, right? And you're creative, and that's, I think, also a hallmark of an entrepreneur. So, same thing really.
Interesting. Okay, I've got quite a few questions here, but before I get moving, I just want to reiterate, jump in the comments if you're tuning in, because we haven't seen them come through. I know there's a bit of a delay, but if you're tuning in, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, drop in the comments. Just let us know where you're tuning in from. Say hello so that we can make this a bit interactive. So, been in marketing for almost 20 years, it sounds like. How have things changed over that time frame?
Oh, it's been fascinating. I think the power's really gone to the hands of the people, which has been quite beautiful. Everything's been decentralized, just like finance and blockchain. which I'm terrible at, by the way. Don't ever take crypto advice from me. But everything has been decentralized and kind of put into the hands of the people, which is really lovely. And that's what we're seeing with marketing. And now it's going to be interesting. I'm somewhere seeing it going back the other way a little bit at the moment with, you know, the iOS updates and things, which is a bit of a shame, but we'll see if it comes back again. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And tell us about the early days in business. You know, 10 years ago, starting out, did you do any capital raising or anything like that?
No, I've never done any capital raising, always being sort of profitable from day one, which is quite good. And always organically growing. I mean, the great thing is I talked to my business partner about this, who joined us 2 years ago now, who's been fantastic. And it's almost like with social media, there's been this like wave of the industry. And the secret is not to be too far ahead, and the secret is not to be too far behind, but just ride it. So you need to have enough talent, knowledge of what's happening. But if you're too far ahead, you'll fall off and get crushed. If you're too far behind, you get left behind. So it's just a matter of just riding that wave. And I think that's probably the same in every business, but social media is pretty fast. So you've got to be prepared to trust your gut and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take opportunities, see them, just be ready. Always be ready for an opportunity is kind of one of my mottos in life.
And I know that you deal with some really big clients, like we were talking before we came on here. You're telling me about Microsoft, and you're doing stuff with WeChat, which I find very impressive. Was it like that from day one? Did you start working with big corporates straight away, or tell us about how it got started?
I started working with your sort of mid-sized companies. Just through friends, and I think that was from being in the industry beforehand. What was happening was people were going, like board members were going to these companies and saying, "Hey, we've heard about the social media fad. What do you think? Who do you know?" It's like, "Oh, I'll bring up my old mate Wendy, who I used to be in ad world with," kind of thing. Right. And that's how I got my first couple of breaks. So that was for a few years, and then about 6 years ago now, we've got our proper, and we're only like 3 or 4 people, and it was a really great lifestyle business, so much fun. We got a big break when one of the biggest telco in New Zealand rebranded from Telecom to Spark, and they gave me a call 3 weeks out from their big launch and said, we don't have any social media strategy like at all, but we're spending, I don't know, $50 million in our brand launch, or maybe it's 150. It was a lot of money. And so I was like, okay, we can come in. So I actually moved my company into their offices, made friends with the IT people. Wow. Always a good strategy, make friends with the IT people. Got some big screens and dashboards, and just put those up and started just working on that. And that was, and then we got really noticed. And from then it's been up and down.
Was this a campaign you took into Snapchat, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. That was fun. We were the first corporate in New Zealand to go into Snapchat, and we did a roadshow around the country where we had like these like ATM machines, or automatic thanks machines, and we had those, and they went around the country, and they had prizes and things on them, which was really cool. But you could only find out where they were from Snapchat. So wow, very, very cool. Yeah, awesome.
Very, very, very brave as well to be one of the first agencies to delve into that space. You know,
it was kind of like they were like, well, it's one of those ones when you're saying to the client, "We've got no idea if this is going to work, but are you up for it? No one else has done this before. Are you brave? Wow. Are you up for it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we want to be brave." So we just went for it. And by the end, we started off with like 10 people turning up. By the end of it, we'd have higher security guards. It was just crazy. Thousands of people. It was really, really successful, which was great, but fun. Amazing. There's people from all over the world coming in. This is really exciting. Yeah, Melbourne, Cape Town, Perth.
Yeah. Ian, we got a special guest here. It's my mum, bless her. Supported me from day one.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah,
my mum will be watching later.
Oh well, cool. If you haven't dropped in the comments yet, say hello, guys. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Yeah, I've got so many things I want to ask you about. So, okay, so you told us about one of those successful campaigns, and it sounds like you're profitable from day one, but you had to overcome along the way. Can you share a couple of those with us?
Oh, there's so many. I've actually got this great speech that I do, and it's called My 4 Favorite failures or my 4 favorite fuck ups, depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, you can say that. I know where you're going with that.
You can bleep that out, which is quite fun. And there's so many mistakes. Probably the greatest thing about entrepreneurship, I think, is actually learning to be more resilient and learning that if you do if you do stuff up, it's actually not the end of the world. It's very, very rarely the actual end of the world. At the end of the day, we're not, doing heart surgery. We're doing social media, which is quite nice. So many things. What have I done wrong? I've forgotten just not being hard enough on getting contracts signed, which has burnt me. That was quite a major. Probably my big one now is get that contract signed before you start work, which I think a lot of small business and big business owners will attest to.
Everyone learns that at some point. Yeah.
Oh, they do. Oh, we've had times when we're doing fantastically at the moment because of the size of the company we've got. Sort of the width and the depth to get through. Like this time last year, during COVID in April, we lost 39% of our revenue literally within a week, like our recurring revenue, which was really, really quite scary. But and that was because we had a lot of tourism clients. We just signed a massive deal with Auckland Airport the week before, for example. And they were like, so we know we've signed that deal, but we're like, we're not going to force you to keep to that contract. It's not the right thing to do. So it was a scary time, lost revenue, but at the same time, I knew that social media was kind of not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger, which we were 100% right on. And so we adapted, and I actually had a chance to buy another agency, which was really exciting, and doubled down. So we did due diligence and bought another company during lockdown last year. That was quite fun.
Is this the Social Club? Social Club?
Yes, the Social Club. It's an amazing company. Fantastic. It's my friend George's company. So strong. 12,500 influencers across Australia and New Zealand. But
wow.
They're fantastic. But better than anything was actually their systems and processes were just incredible for running influencer campaigns. And that just took our whole company just up a step in that space, which was really exciting. So we use that same, whether we're doing an influencer campaign in India or the States or the UK or China, as well as, local, we use those amazing systems and processes, and it's all nice and professional and saves a lot of relearning as you do when you buy another company. It's quite nice.
That's fantastic.
But I think resilience is a good one you learn. And not to take life too seriously. It's just a game.
Well, yeah, you definitely. I found that being a business owner changes your it forces you to change your relationship with failure, because that's really how you learn. There's no school you can go to learn how to grow a business from scratch.
No, and it's like what did I read? I love learning, which is fantastic. Because you learn that everyone, as you say, every business owner you've ever talked to has made mistakes, and that's how you get better. You don't just start running. You've got to walk, right? So got to fall over a few times. We've done some really stupid things. But great thing is in social media, the early ones are really hilariously funny, and I don't think you could do nowadays. But because we were literally making it up as we went, literally making it up. It's I've got no idea if this will work. Push this button for this massive brand worth $500 million. Let's see what happens. It's ridiculous. But you could back then. Can't do that now. And things we did. And it was totally me. It wasn't even my team. I posted the wrong brands content on a competing brands platform one time. Wasn't April Fool's Day, just had just had a fail. I was just g'day. So we've done all sorts of stupid things over the years, but every time you do it, you put a process in place and you don't do it again, which is important. But I've hired the wrong people, I've done all that sort of business stuff as well.
Very, very important. It's just the screen. We'll come back now. Okay, here we are. The joys of doing things live. But I mean, you're so say something like that to a brand. I don't know if this is going to work. Do you want to try it with me? You obviously have built quite a good reputation. How much of what you do when you are dealing with companies, getting them to invest in new platforms, new campaigns, how much education is actually involved in getting them to agree to that kind of thing?
Well, the great thing is there's less and less as the time has gone on. So when I first started, 11 years ago, it was, what is social media? Why is it important? Why should I put money in it? And then it kind of became, because it used to be all organic, then it became, why do I have to spend money on media? I've never had to before. and then it became, but it's all about followers counts. You're always re-educating and re-educating and re-educating, but at the end of the day, the heart of it's the same, and it's all about building a relationship. And so I always just go back to like, what do I actually love to do? Like, what do we love to do? And we love to build relationships between brands and communities, and how we do that changes. So whether you're doing it in, Indian or in, Korean, or whether you're doing it on online platform, or if you're doing it on Facebook or Instagram, it's still the same thing. You're just building that relationship. And it's the biggest thing is it's not just about broadcasting or being a growth hacker or that's not what we do. It's not what we specialize in. Some companies are amazing at that, but that's not our sort of bag. We really like to build relationships. So it's listening twice as much as you're broadcasting. It's kind of where we sit.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Long term stuff, not quick.
Yeah. The problem with hacks is they don't last.
They don't last. And I think I really got really tempted, to be honest, must have been about 3 or 4 years ago when growth hacking became it got a name. And it was like, oh, I could really get into this. And I love being analytical, and I'm like, I could get into this. I could play the algorithms. But I could just see that you're playing against these massive big behemoth, your Googles and your Facebook. I'm like, you're only going to win against them for a week. I don't know if that's it. Personally, it's not the sort of business model that fits my ethos of relationship building. So we've back to what we're good at, which is just that relationship building. It's fun. It means you get to be really reactionary too, which I love. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when SEO was, what everyone was focused on, and I got a website to the top of Google, and we're getting 10 leads a day for this real estate company.
Wow.
And the best thing that ever happened to me was all of those websites, when the algorithm updated, went from page 1 to page 100, right?
Oh no, you lost all your backlinks.
But I learned a really important lesson, don't try and trick the platform. It's only going to get smarter. You're not going to beat Google, in the long run.
They've got, you look at, I don't know if you've ever been into the Google campus or the Facebook campuses over in, San Fran, and you just walk around, you're like, oh, they're amazing. And they're just, I'm just looking at, they're just big. Yeah. So many thousands of amazing people.
I've interviewed a couple of the engineers at LinkedIn, and they're some of the smartest people in the game, and they're meeting once a week to try and work out how to stop people hacking the platform. And I'm thinking, it's not gonna end well.
No,
I'm just gonna do the hard stuff and focus on adding value, which sounds like you're doing as well.
You've got to put that. I do think, there is a lot of, there's always a place to make a lot of money really quickly if you jump on a trend. If you're on, crypto at the beginning. Not me. I was too late for that one. NFTs at the moment. There's always something to get into. But I just think also there's something about, when you meet people and you're like, oh my goodness, you're just doing what you're meant to do, whether it's an athlete or a business person or whatever, and you sort of see that heart and that soul. Absolutely. And if you're just doing what you're meant to do, then it just works. And if it's not working, you just got to wait a bit longer, as Winston Churchill would say. So be a bit patient.
Yeah. And so on that, where are you seeing the opportunities for companies at the moment?
I think a lot of it is about, it's almost more of a business conversation. So it's actually loving companies that are looking deeper into themselves and doing all that kind of work that that marketers used to do, but now businesses are doing. So they're looking into finding their purpose and their why and their North Star, and bringing that whole message across their entire organization. And not just the organization, but into their communities. And when they do that well, it just makes them so powerful and strong, because then the communities kind of know why they're there, who they're talking to, and they build a relationship. And then the company becomes more than just the people that work there. The company becomes its entire ecosystem, and that's the real power at the moment. So it's almost doing that business work before you go out and find your people. It's know who you are before you know who your friends are. Kind of just a bit of deep diving, a bit of navel searching for these companies.
And I imagine that sets you up for scaling as well, which I wanted to ask you about, and I'm very ignorant about this, so please treat me like somebody who knows nothing in this area. But I'm curious, when you're working with a brand, when it comes to community management, how much is it actually possible to outsource that, or is it something that you need to train their internal team on to be able to respond to engagement that they get in their various communities of all, because I mean social media is becoming quite a big beast. It needs to have a
It's
team to be able
huge.
to manage the community. The days
Yeah.
of one person sitting there having these conversations, I mean, when you get to a certain size, they're over. I'm just curious, from your perspective,
How they
how
do it?
generally recommend that they manage it. Yeah.
So how it works with us and our like larger clients is usually they have like a CSR, like a customer service team, and that might be, it could be 20 people, 2 people, or 100 people in some cases, and that team is set up and designed to answer customer queries as fast as possible. Like that's literally their KPIs. That's what they're supposed to do. And then there's my team, and my team are quite different, and they're built differently, and they're quite entertaining. And that's one thing that we have that not many social media agencies have, and that is a specialized community management team. They're on 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, and they look after our clients, but not from a customer services point of view, but from a customer community point of view. So they do the banter, they do the snarky little poems and the comments and the have a bit of fun. I mean, it's literally the best job in the world, and was not a job 10 years ago, but now it is. So that's how we kind of work. So there's obviously, tech that we use to split off who does what at that bigger level, which works really well. So
you're right. What a fun job. What a fun
it's
job.
like so much fun. I mean, sometimes it's not when your client's getting, done something maybe not everyone agrees with. We do work with some kind of not controversial, but like say, telcos. Not everyone's always happy with their internet service provider, but especially now with our right now, what's going on. But from a smaller point of view, I actually love to encourage business owners to actually get on there themselves and do as much as they can. Not when they've been drinking, but just in general. Don't ever drink and tweet. No drinking, tweeting. But actually just like hear what people are saying. It's really, you can just get the most. We had one client, it was so cool, and they were a supplement company, in terms of anti-inflammatory. So if you have arthritis and things like that, it's like a marine, not collagen, some word like, it's terrible. I should know these things about my clients. But they had this one, and it was going really well, and we're selling into like China and around New Zealand and Australia. And what we were finding is everyone was talking about, they were giving it to their pets, like their dogs and their cats with arthritis and things. And it was like, you would never have known that if you hadn't had like a community management team, or instead of a CSR team, saying, by the way, everyone's giving them these like anti-inflammatory things to their pets, and suddenly they've got an entire new business market, which just came out of there. Like just little things like that happen all the time. It's quite cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's so many opportunities. We're back.
Yep.
We've got some fun going on with the live stream.
Sorry, the thunderstorms overhead over here.
Yeah, well, yeah, you don't know with this live. It could be the platform. It could be either end. We don't know. I've got. Where do I want to go? Okay, let's. I'm curious, like with your business growth journey. I always like talking to entrepreneurs that have achieved growth, similar to your own. So you're obviously quite successful, winning a lot of awards. You've grown a team, overcome challenges, and built a relationship that seems to be very positive with failure. Have you had any way? I'm curious.
Oh, sorry, I missed just the last few words of what you said.
I big build up, and then I was like, I was curious. I was curious if you had any mentors that you work with, or any maybe it's a book that you've read that stood out that has helped you along your journey.
There's so many cool things. One thing I joined about 6 years ago. I joined Entrepreneurs Organisation, which is a global organisation of about 13,000 entrepreneurs, and it's the requirements aren't too crazy to get in. I think you need like $1 million US revenue and a few other things, but it's not like, you don't need to be a massive big company to join that one. And it's just got fantastic entrepreneurial support, and it's all about sharing and learning, and you do some pretty amazing things around the world, which is very cool. So that's connected to me to a lot of global entrepreneurs, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So I meet up with them once, or my little group of like them once a month, which is very cool. Got another one tomorrow. And like, for example, in my meeting tomorrow, I've got some scaling plans that I'm going to take them through. I've got some venture ideas that I want to sense check. But I also have like a group of other female founders. Like we catch up every Friday for a Zoom meeting, 9 till 10. It's like my time. And we just have a laugh and talk about business. Everyone has the same things. And my little my Wonder Woman, as we call each other, are like are fantastic. They're just really, really great. But we're always recommending, like My First Million's a great podcast that I really enjoy. The word breathe, I don't know, then on a completely different thing, you've got to, mental health's really important. So the book Breathe is amazing, and it's taught me to basically try and only breathe through your nose, not through your mouth. Trust me, once you read the book, this will make sense, which is really hard when you're running. But things like that. What's another favorite book of mine at the moment? I just read this book, terrible title, but trust me, it's called How to Get Rich. But it's actually got some real awesome, it's like written by this billionaire Dennis Felix, and it's like hilariously good. It's just this rollicking, funny read. But it's got some really nice little things in there, especially in regards to how to deal with competitors, which I thought was really interesting. I'm sort of taking on board. So there's always something to take on. I often find, I don't know about you, but you'll read like a book or listen to something, and then like 2 years later you'll reread it and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like I reread The Infinite Game during the weekend, and just was like,
that's a good one. Yep.
Love that one. Such a great one. Just that whole kind of thinking long term, not short term, not thinking, which is the problem. It's one of the reasons, we're sort of thinking like, do I list my company? Do I not? Like, and there's all these sort of things you need to think about. Because I love growing, but if you list your company, then you're kind of stuck in a quarterly or 6 monthly race to be always growing, unless you get the right investors on board. So there's all this sort of stuff to think about as a business owner. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and yeah, it is, absolutely. And what about as a marketer? Like, has there been any marketers that have influenced your journey along the way that stood out?
Ironically, there should be, but I don't think there is, mainly because like all the stuff I learned back in the old days is all old. I'd almost say like HubSpot, like this sounds so corny and dumb, but when HubSpot came out with their wheel, the flywheel, instead of like a funnel, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that was just amazing. Yeah. That was like my blow me away moment, which was about 7 or 8 years ago now. And I was like, yes, that makes so much more sense. So now we just flow. But
I've learned a huge amount from HubSpot.
Yeah, but I think there's also, like I'm Gen X, so I grew up without the internet and without social media, and so my kids coming through grew up obviously with the internet and social media, so they have a completely different relationship and a different view and a different lens, and so they always teach me more than, like, I know I've got this like this unconscious bias to social media, which they don't have. It's really so it's really interesting. Right. I think you can learn a lot from just like literally from young people under 12. They will teach you a lot about marketing.
Absolutely. And where it's heading, for sure.
And for them, it's a really kind place. Which is nice. Sorry.
Oh, good. That's good. With the influencer, with the social club and the influencer campaigns that you're running, are you seeing much growth in the B2B area?
Yeah, we are actually like heaps more, which is really good. I almost feel like B2B is often a little bit late to the party with marketing, but when it does it well. So that's what I'm sort of seeing. It's really interesting. And what's happening as well is, of course, influencers are becoming more and more business savvy themselves. So that's helping. Yes. So yeah, we did some good stuff with Microsoft recently, actually. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So does this involve LinkedIn? I'm curious. The influencer campaigns or not?
I think it probably will. I'm not sure. I don't know about the details. It's probably a good thing. But yeah, sure it will, because obviously Microsoft owns LinkedIn, so sure we'll be all over it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I didn't even register, but absolutely, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I get I get opportunities through LinkedIn every now and then to work with a brand, like either
Oh,
sponsoring a
cool.
show
Shall I
or
put
doing
you forward?
articles and stuff.
I put you forward to the team and say, hey, Nathaniel's looking.
Sounds
I
good to
will totally
me.
do
Sounds
that.
good to.
Sounds good. Do I get a cut now? Probably not.
Of course, of course, of course. Well, like it's got to be the right brand, obviously. But
Totally.
I seem to get copied by the right brands, but it's all
Yeah.
organic. Like it never happens. Like it's not deliberate. And when I look out there, there's not that many B2B marketplaces or whatever. So I'm always to find out, like, is this industry going? Where do you go to get opportunities? Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting one. It's definitely, I'm seeing more and more of it, and I'm really encouraged, like, because it works so well. B2B, and also if you think about it, one of the biggest things is I love that. Yeah, you're fantastic. I love that.
Thanks, Najma.
Yeah, didn't pay. But obviously we traditionally B2Bs really relied on events, and they're so heavily reliant on events, and now that's not been as easy to do in the last year. So that's almost helped influencers become like really find a really strong place and kind of get into the marketing mix a bit better.
Yeah, and just on that, if you see a tail waggling around in the background, I don't know if you could.
That's just your tail.
Little Marshall down here.
Oh, I blocked my puppy out.
So on that, like, how have you been shifting things and the advice that you've been giving to your clients since COVID started? I mean, like obviously social media usage has gone up, but uncertainty has also gone up. Like, what has been your advice, particularly at the start of last year, to businesses?
Yeah, I mean, last year for social media was a real roller coaster in general, because not only did we have COVID, but we also had all the sort of challenges around a lot of brands not wanting to be on Facebook because of Black Lives Matters, and a whole lot of sort of privacy, and there's a lot of our brands actually chose to globally to get off like Facebook and Instagram, which was quite a challenge. Especially if you're a social media marketing company that was talking to consumers. Absolutely. So that's all sort of seemed to have sort of worked. But it kind of meant you could get creative in other ways, which is really good. But it was, our biggest thing was like just to be there for your people. Like, don't be a brand that when there's a crisis runs away. You need to be there with your people and be with community, and just kind of just literally, be in the shit, in the shit with them. Show some empathy. One of our brands is a big supermarket chain, so you can you guys had the same thing with toilet paper. I don't understand. And interestingly, our latest lockdown that we had, everyone was like panic buying was like beer and broccoli. It was so weird. So Kiwis
that makes more sense to me. Beer makes more sense to me than toilet paper.
It really does. It was so weird, but it's just sort of been there. But the other thing is, like from a practical point of view as well, our clients all tend to have a bit of a fund, like just a little bit of money set aside for when there is another lockdown or something like that happens. There's kind of a little bit of a we've got a bit of a plan to do some extra posts, some extra love, some extra care, because the people need it then. So it's actually just putting a little bit of a rainy day fund aside for crises, a crisis fund, and maybe even pre-preparing some content, which is what we've sort of done with everyone.
Yep. And what about TikTok? I hear that the brands are using it and are getting some great results. I know that the TikTok have got some great support in Australia and New Zealand. Have you been experimenting with the platform?
Yeah, we just did a really cool campaign with You by Kotex, I think, which is like period undies, which was quite hilarious, and went really, really well. So using influencers on TikTok. So
I can only imagine.
Sorts of things. Yeah, I mean, it's right up your alley. But it was really cool. Use some TikTok influencers. What I'm loving in TikTok is there's incredible diversity, which is really interesting. So it's really quite cool, and it is definitely like like it's definitely a skill. Like being a TikTok creator is not like being an Instagram creator. Like it's such a different, you've got to get your transitions like on pat. There's a whole thing to it. And that was one of the reasons I was so happy that we, bought the social club with this massive database of content creators, because I was like,
wow,
how do we find some and I don't want to use the same TikTok creator for each brand. Like we want to use every different one of our clients. We use different creators so they get the same feel and they're aligned and it's authentic. They're not just sort of guns for hire. Yeah, it's so cool. But I think there's going to be some interesting stuff happening on TikTok, because now they're getting into like social selling through TikTok. Social selling is going to be huge in the next, like live streaming.
Really?
It's going to be really, really
okay.
big. In fact,
Wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens on LinkedIn, sooner than later, but it's definitely coming obviously to Facebook and Insta as well. It's been happening in the States, China for years, live stream selling, and that's sort of the big ones we're going to be jumping on. And can't wait.
Wow, I need to get on there.
Yeah, you need to like
amazing.
have a talk to LinkedIn, and you can be selling your, I don't know, your puppy and.
Well, I think that
through LinkedIn.
I think they'll get there, especially with events. Like I think LinkedIn events will have a payment gateway soon.
Yeah, they should do. Like I can't see why they shouldn't now. Like they just should.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and they could link it all into the Microsoft ecosystem. Anyway. But I'm not one of those highly intelligent people that work out of San Fran, so I'll just.
Well, look, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. LinkedIn events is getting LinkedIn events and LinkedIn Live is getting better all the time. Like I noticed just with this live, this is the first time I've seen it, that you can actually invite people to the live.
That was cool.
Didn't get a chance to do it this time, but you invite up to 1,000 people a week to a live broadcast. That's pretty cool. So I think it's only a matter of time.
It's going to be huge. Yeah, I think if anyone's investing in LinkedIn right now, it's totally the place to go. My husband's also a marketer, and he gets so many links through, so many leads through just having a really good, consistent LinkedIn strategy and just being out there and talking to people. And it's definitely I think you've chosen a really great niche. Definitely riding the wave. You're doing well. Nailed it.
It's networking, right? You got to be able to. I think, you got to be able to build a relationship with somebody. If you can't do it offline, it's going to be difficult to do it online. And I think that's what people have to understand.
Yeah.
But I know it's late over there, Wendy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with us today. Good luck on the 16th of September in the Social Media Awards.
Yeah,
I hope it goes well.
I will see you there.
Good luck with the entrepreneur. What was it again? What was the entrepreneur finalist award that you mentioned?
Oh yeah, Entrepreneur of the Year awards. That's a New Zealand one, so it's not Australasia, but just little New Zealand. But still, it's pretty cool.
It's huge. Oh, good luck.
Big one for me.
I really appreciate your time and hope to do this again with you sometime.
You too. It's so lovely to meet you and your mum. And all your fans and followers, and I will see you on the LI. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us.